What's up, you all? This is Hussein Nasser from IGeometry. Today we bring you the 6th episode of .NET Programming with ArcObjects. Let us continue. Let's pick it up from our last episode. In the last episode, previously on .NET Programming with ArcObjects, we have done the filter, the query filter. Remember, you select this, we click on restaurants, we filter based on the category. So we'll populate only those venues or restaurants which satisfy a particular query. So we did that. We also displayed the name instead of the ID, so that's more useful. In this episode, we will do two main things. First, we will replace this 5 buttons with a drop-down list, and we will try to automatically or dynamically, as they say, populate the subtypes, which are these: bar, cafe, diner, lounges, restaurants, dynamically, without us hard coding them. So for those who doesn't know what hard coding is basically using the concept of a pre-knowledge that you know that the cafe's ID is for example, is 5, the diner is 3, the lounges are 2, and you are hard coding the buttons to map to a category. So that's not nice. Why? Because if you go to the database and you modified, like you changed the subtype code, or you added a new subtype, or you deleted an existing subtype, you will need to modify your code, right? That's not very nice. We need to minimize maintenance as much as possible. So we will do that. We'll draw a nice drop-down list here with the category, and when we select this, we will display all the subtypes. In fact, we will delete all this. We don't need it anymore. I just added this to explain for you guys the layer and the concept of hiding and showing layers. So we don't need this. This is a restaurant viewer, so supposed to view restaurants, right? So that's one. The second thing, when I select a restaurant, I will add 2 labels here, and I will display the website for that restaurant and the description for that restaurant. Alright, guys, it's not very complicated episode today. It's very simple, but we will be doing a new thing that we are not used to do before. We will create a new class. We never created a new class. I mean, we did create a class, of course, for the commands, but we didn't create a class for the sake of simplifying our lives, right? So this is what we will do. We'll create a class called restaurant, and each restaurant will point to a feature. So we'll add attributes for that restaurant. Okay, guys, this is the first thing that we will do. But let's start. So we're gonna fire up our Visual Studio Express, run as administrator, wait. Wow, that was fast. Alright, I'm using a Windows 7 machine, 1.5 GB of RAM, so it's pretty neat. Good stuff. I don't want to update. Okay, so where do we start? First, I'm not gonna delete that. I have a feeling that I'm gonna use it, so I'm gonna hide it under the carpet. Nobody will see it. It's under the carpet. It's under the carpet. No one saw it. You didn't see that, guys. Okay. Alright. This little fella is the CMB categories. Why it's white? Because the drop-down style is not drop-down list. Okay, and we'd like to just put a label here. just like that. Let's call it category. Where is? Okay. What? Where's that? Can't believe this. Could swear I select that. Anyway, so label 3. This is not label 3. This is called the category. And we'll hide this under the carpet as well. Hide them under the carpet. Okay. So this will be. What did I do? This is category. This is not layers. This is called. Oh my god. I wanted to change the text. I changed the name instead. What I am doing? Category. All right. This is excellent. This is excellent. This is excellent. Right. So when I select a category, I want to clear this list and populate it. So when I load this map, there are so many things we have to do here, guys. First of all, on load, we're gonna write some code when the form starts up, right? And when the form starts up, which is basically when you click this button, if you remember, we are doing some code here. We were setting the application, an arc map, and then we're showing the form, and then we're populating these layers. We will not need that. So when we show the form, we want to use, we want to populate the subtypes. So to get the subtypes, we have to get the layer first, right? So this is very interesting. So I have a variable here in the form. I have a variable called application, which is set by the previous command. Okay, so this little object is set by this here. It is set here, but there is a sequence that is very important here, which is executed. That's why when I show the form, when I go ahead and show the form, I have to make sure that this application is already set. All right, and it is, of course, it is set. Of course, it is set. So when I set this application and then set that property and then show the form, I should trigger this event. And here, application should be populated. That's what I wanted to know. And from application, I can get the layer. And from the layer, I can get the feature class. And from the feature class, I can get so many other things. So let's start. So I want to create a layer here. Let's call it a feature layer. I'm going to make an assumption here. And this is a very big assumption, a very dangerous assumption. But for now, I'm going to stick with this assumption. Later, I'm going to change it. Okay, guys? This assumption is based on the name of the layer. So, if you remember, we wrote a function called getLayerByName, right? It will loop through all layers and get you the layer by name. I'm gonna make sure that this layer is called food and drink, like that, right? So this, I will make sure that my layer is named exactly like that. So when the form loads, this layer should be there and it should be named food and drinks to get that layer. The moment I get the layer, I need to get the feature class. And the feature class, you get it like that, remember? This is the tricky part. Now we will learn a new interface. If you remember previously that we talked about IFeature class, right? And we know that IFeature class is used, aggregated by IFeature layer. So IFeature layer uses IFeature class. So IFeature layer cannot exist by itself. So it's a composition relationship. It has a composition relationship with the feature class. However, the feature class can exist by itself. And feature class implements so many interfaces, including feature class as a class implements IFeature class, of course, implements IFeature class, and it also implements so many other things, including ISubtypes. I think this is the interface. So if your feature class implements ISubtypes, then you can cast those two together. So let's create a new variable ISubtypes as ISubtypes. I think it is ISubtypes. I'm not sure, but I think it is ISubtypes. So ISubtypes, we cast this to feature class. This will only work if your feature class has subtypes. Okay. Once I get this, I think this is it. Subtypes, reset the subtypes. Yep, this is it. Yeah, we have subtypes. So the subtypes are basically, in our case, it's bars, restaurants, and so on. So I want to loop through these subtypes and populate the names of these subtypes and the codes of these subtypes. All right, in the drop-down list. To do that, okay, I have to do a loop, right? But before that, I have to get the enumerator, which enumerates through this subtype. So this is subtypes is IEnumSubtype. So I'm gonna create another variable. Let's call it ISubtypes as IEnumSubtype. So I always add this prefix if it's an enum. So E. That's pretty much straightforward looping using enumeration. So ISubtypes, if it's enumeration, you have to call reset first. So because it is basically a list of subtypes, a list of objects, a list of strings and codes. So this will be bar 0, for example, restaurant 1, and cafes 2, and so on. Got it? So ISubtypes, there is a nice property here. It's called next. The next variable here, this is a very twisted loop, and I don't know why ASRI did it like this way, but I'm gonna explain it to you anyway. Okay, guys. So first you have to declare a code. Let's call it code as integer, and you will gonna pass the code here as this variable, and it will return a string for you. So then this is the subtype text. Let's call it, okay? So subtype text equal the subtypes.next, and you give it the code. So this will return two pieces of information simultaneously for you. It will return the code by reference, and it will return the text by parameter, function return. So this is how it works. So how does this function stop? It will stop if this variable is not nothing. Simple. As long as this is not empty, it will go on. So here you will have a code and you will have a text. So CMB categories, let's clear it first. CMB categories.items.clear, and CMB categories.items.add is subtypes. What is it? Text. After the loop, not after the loop, inside the loop. After you get this, you have to recall this function again to give me the next code or the next subtype basically. So this little code will populate for us the subtypes. So conveniently we can call it populate subtypes or populate categories. So let's call it in a function populate categories. Doesn't take anything. Let's just put the whole thing here. Again, guys, we will clean up the code in the coming episodes. Now I'm writing a very ugly code. Some duplicates are there, but it's just for the sake of explanation. I have to do that because I don't want to create delegates for you now and complicated keywords. So I'm gonna keep it simple for now, at least. So populate categories. When the form loads, I want to populate the categories. Simple. So I think everything is in place. So what's the trick here? This is the trick. So you cast the feature class to the subtype. And we have to name our layer foods and drinks. So let's build my solution. Let's run our document. And we will change this into foods and drinks. So, and we're gonna save this document. So you'll get the latest code in the end of this episode. You'll get the latest code and the document as well. Okay, so the updated document. Make sure to download them. All right, so let's try this. When I clicked on that, lots of code had already run, and we have our nice categories populated here. In what order they were populated? In no particular order. I don't know why the diner starts first. Maybe it's because of I think the sequence of the. So why the diner first? Yeah, because 0 diners, 1. It's numerical basically, an ascending order. So if I select diner, I will get all the diners. Wrong. I didn't add any code, guys. And this is a very tricky part, by the way. So this is clear so far. When I select this, the trick here is to filter the layers and you give me only the categories, okay, which have the code of 0. But the problem is I don't have the code here. I have only the text. How do I get the code? That is a very, very, very good question, and we're gonna get to that in just a minute. This episode is gonna be a bit long because I have a lot of things to explain, but bear with me, guys. Don't get bored. Don't close the YouTube video. Wait, I'm gonna promise you this will get more interesting. Okay, scan with this message. Okay, so let's do this. I will now create something very interesting here. And instead of adding strings or adding just simple text here, I'm gonna add objects to this category. So when I select this, I'm gonna get an object of a class that I'm gonna create. I'll call it category, and then in that object I'll have properties, which is the code and the text. All right, so this is what I will do. First of all, let's add a new class. Add item. Oh, not add item. Okay, I know, same. Let's call it category. Category or restaurant category. Yeah, category is good as well. So category, I need 2 pieces of information here. I'm gonna add 2 properties. The first property called category category name. So this is a string, and the category name. Did I didn't explain this, guys, for you. Sorry. I think I did. You basically, to create a property, you just type property and you hit the tab 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and it will type the whole thing for you. Okay. So as I told you, private variables I always use underscore, so I just differentiate them. So I'm gonna property. This is the code, category code. Leave it as a string. I don't want it to be a number. Category code. So we have category number, category code. You know what? Let's leave it this way. Now, because I want to generate a logical error here for you guys to understand better. So in the loop here, I'm not gonna add this. In the loop, I am going to create a nice little object right there. Let's call it category, p category, because it's a pointer now. It's a class, guys. So we need a pointer. P category as category. This is our best friends category, correct? And p category, no, equal new category. I'm gonna initiate it to an object, right? So p category dot category code is equal. Where is our code? Right there. This is the code. P category dot category name is equal. Where is our name? Subtype text. Now I'm not gonna add the subtype text. No. I'm gonna add the category object. Why? Because that's the beauty of object-oriented, guys. I can add objects. Can I click? Yeah. I can add objects here. Not only text and primitive data types. I can add objects. And this object will then be displayed in that combo box. Now the question is, what will be displayed? Will the category name will be displayed by default, or the category code, or something else? We will see after the commercials. I'm just kidding, no commercials. All right, so let's build this. Load 10.2.2. I wonder when the 11 version will be released. So, that is ugly, right? What is this? This is basically the class name, because you guys didn't specify what do you want to display. So he said, .NET said, hey, you didn't specify what do you want me to display. So I'm gonna display the toString function. Basically the combo box. When you send it an object, it will call the toString function, which is a method in all object in .NET. It's called toString. So it will call it. And toString by default gets you the class name, which is in this case the class name of everything. To fix that, we need to override that method, which is the toString here. So how do you override things here? You said public overrides toString. I'm gonna toString. See, the toString goes to the mybase.toString, which is an object. A class implements always an object. An object takes the class name. So I'm gonna return the category name here. I want to display the name. When this function is called, I'm gonna display the name. So this sounds good. Let's build. And run. Build and run. Wow, that is sweet, right? That is a sweet. So for each object, you get the name instead. So now I can freely play with this. You guys know we just introduced the first object-oriented concept here, right? So when I click on this, you're gonna get the selected item property of this CMB category is a category class, and that is very, 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 very important. Why? We will know just now. So what happens when I click on this? When I select index change, I'm gonna clear the venues items that's clear, and then I'm gonna get p selected category as category equal cmb category dot selected item. How convenient is this? So the less selected item here is an object in that combo box. Because I coded this part, I'm sure that it is a category class. That's why I will not get an error here. Category class, right? So I'm gonna get this. From the category, I can get the category name and code. Not only the name. And now I can write so many other functions, including the function we just hid here. Remember? Where is the... yeah. When I click here, there's a function called setDefinitionQuery. Remember? Let's take that. And there is a function that filters also populate. So let's just take the whole thing here. Copy. And when I click on that, paste. There's no button here anymore, guys. What is the setDefinitionQuery? Takes the category code. Do we have a category code? Of course we do have a category code, my friend. So setDefinitionQuery. Remember this, guys, right? Go back to episode number 2, I guess. This will basically change the definition layer. We talked about this. And we will get the selected item, cmb to selected items. We don't need that. Do we need that? No. Get layer by name. We said that our layer names is food, and mind the case sensitivity here, guys. So get me that layer, cast that layer to the selected feature, give me the feature class, create a query filter, and the category is equal the category code, which was previously the button tag, which was hard-coded. Now we don't have any hard coding anymore. So we have the selected category code, guys. And category is what filter, search, true, and populate venues. How convenient is this, guys? Let's run, build and run, build and run. Oh, we forgot to hide the carpet. No problem. So diner. Wow, that is so embarrassing. It's not embarrassing, guys. I mean that. So let's see why I'm having a problem here. Unhandled expression has been, so object not set. Where is this object? It says setDefinitionQuery. So what did I send you? What's the problem? It didn't populate anything. So let's see what we did wrong. Should work. Should have worked. I don't know. So when I get the selected item, I get the category. I'm gonna send you the category code, which is the category code, right? So what is the problem here? So the category code is it populated here? I'm gonna assume it is, because I'm gonna assume it is populated. So just to make sure, I'm gonna do a nice message box here. P selected category dot category code and p selected category dot category name. So let's see. Why are we having troubles? It's good that we are getting errors finally, so we can fix this together. And in case you encounter them, you know why you are facing a problem, right? So that's why I'm not gonna cut through this video if there are any errors. I'm gonna solve it even if it takes 3 hours. Not 3 hours, of course. 3 hours is a very long time. Okay, so when I select diner, it is 0, but I'm getting an error. When I select cafe, the code seems to be correct, yet I am still getting an error. That is weird. Let's see what is there in the definition query. Did you see, guys? He's still depending on that combo box we have, which is depending on the layers, which is not selected. So we need to do a little hard coding here. So no, don't use the drop down list anymore. Use the food and drinks. And you notice that I have used food and drinks now. This is the third time I'm using it. So I'm gonna write a little constant here. I think I can write constant food and drinks as a string, just so I do not duplicate this name every time. So every time I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna replace the CMB layers with the restaurant name. So here, and here, pretty much a lot of changes in this episode, but you guys, I'm sure you will get it. It's not, so I'm gonna replace this text. I'm gonna use this constant instead, and we don't need this message box because we know it's true, and that's the last instance of changing. So did we hide the carpet, guys? Yes, we did. If you do a lot of changes, expect errors, guys. Hussein Nasser, 2014. That's a quote by me. Don't steal my quote, guys. Diner. Wow, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful, guys. Yes, restaurants, 4 restaurants. Show me the bars. 2 bars only. Lounges, 4 lounges, and cafes. So many cafes. Next, when we select the venue, we're gonna add the website now and the description of that restaurant. So let's get to it, guys. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Cancel. So, all right. So we need a label. All right. So copy, paste, copy, paste. Let's call this. We needed a name, of course. This is. So we'll go to the website, I guess. Oh no, let's put the description first. Description, and then let's call it, of course, LBL description because we're gonna reference it in the code. And LBL website. In the future episodes, guys, we're gonna add the reviews and ratings for those restaurants, but we cannot now because these pieces of information are located into different tables, and we cannot access this table with our limited knowledge now. We need related tables and objects, so you get it. We need to have more information, of course, guys. We cannot do this now. We need to have the related object. We need to know so many things. I don't want to explain it now. It's too early. It is too early for this. So the description goes here, and the website goes here. And you know what? For the sake of the HTML, I'm gonna change the name of I'm gonna change the style of this. Where's the font? So let's make this blue, and let's make this italic. We're gonna make this italic. Are you mad? All right. Gonna select. Now when we select this, there are some things that we have to put again, guys. In the populate venue function, we are adding only the names, right? If you remember, let's go to the definition here, and we are only adding the name of that restaurant, but we want the whole restaurant object, and we do not have a restaurant object, so how about we create one? Good thinking, guys. Let's do this. Restaurant. So this restaurant is an object, and there is a lot of properties inside that object. So there is a restaurant name of that restaurant, property. Let's add a website for that restaurant, and not the last thing, the description for that restaurant. Keep saying restaurant. It's a venue, it can be anything. My wife finished her novel finally. She's very happy. It's a 400 pages novel. It's called The Paris Wife, and she is very happy now. Okay, the description. Mabruk Amri, mabruk. So description, and what else? Object ID. We need the object ID. I'm gonna tell you why. The object ID is very important, so we can get that object, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we got, you know this, guys. Now we have to override what? Override the toString, and in the toString we're gonna return the name of that restaurant. Makes more sense to display the name, but we have a full object here. So let's get to it. And where are we here? In the populate venues, we're gonna change few code here. What should we do? We don't want the index, and we have the name. So, and we are adding the name here. No, this is not what we want. We have to create a restaurant. Create a restaurant object. Then p restaurant as new as restaurant equal new restaurant, and the p restaurant dot name equal something equal the name. P restaurant dot object ID. Can you guess how we get the object ID? You guessed it right. And the description, we don't know how yet. And the website. These two pieces of information, we have to populate them manually. How? pfeature dot value of the index. But instead of doing this, I'm gonna use pfeature dot fields dot find field, and I'm gonna use the description. So it's the same concept, but I'm using a function inside a function. So this will return the index, and instead of putting it in a variable, I'm just using it directly here. Right? Description and website. I'm assuming these are the fields, but I'm not sure. Hopefully these are the correct fields, alright guys? We'll check them now, no problem. And now when we complete our restaurant object, we're gonna add that object to the restaurant. How about that? And while we are at it, let's continue our code. So what happens when I select something here? On select, I'm gonna get the restaurant object, the selected restaurant, as restaurant equal CMB venues the selected item. So I have, this is the venues. The items are no more strings, they are actual objects. So I get the restaurant name. What I want to do with this object, I want to populate the description, text p restaurant.name, description lbl website.text equal p restaurant.website. How convenient. See object-oriented, how it simplifies and illuminates the way in the darkness of this age. Alright, let's try. So we might get an error because of the field name, because I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that I am doing this correctly. Website is the website, description is the description. How very diner. Wow, from the first try, man. That is really impressive. From the first time. That's what she said. Excellent diner located on Crotons. Oh my god. This is so sexy, guys. This is so beautiful. I'm falling in love with this application, guys. Sorry, my wife. I'm not falling in love with this application. I love you very much. You are my only love. Okay. So, that's it for this episode, guys. I guess in the next episode, we'll do something more fun. I'm gonna interact with the map. When you select something, I'm gonna flash it right there. You're gonna see some flashing going on. So we will introduce symbols and elements and display, how to interact with the display, how to flash things on the display, how to select items. So stay tuned and stay awesome, guys. See you in the next one. Goodbye.